Hello, I'm Matt from World of Ukes, the North of England's specialist ukulele store and editor of Uke magazine, and welcome to another edition of What's in Store. If you've not seen these videos before, it's quite a simple idea. People who watch this YouTube channel, World of Ukes customers and Uke magazine readers send me questions about ukuleles and I answer them. And I'm always looking for new questions to answer, so if you have anything ukulele related that you want me to speak about, then do let me know in the comments or via the worldofukes.co.uk website, and I'll answer those in a future video. The first question comes from a YouTube user with the nickname Cornet Blower, and they ask, what is your favourite uke and have you still got it? The fact that I'm holding a ukulele would suggest that yes I do, and it's the Ukulele Lahua 3CX tenor ukulele, which I've had fitted with a my-side pickup, which I think for amplifying a ukulele is as good a thing as I've ever come across. I've used that in venues big and small all across Europe, and it's never let me down. I absolutely love the sound of that. This ukulele is made in Vietnam from Hawaiian koa, and I've had it for about 6 years. Now it is quite an expensive one, north of £1,000, and in that time since I bought it, obviously I've played many beautiful ukuleles, some much more expensive than this, and some of those more expensive ones, you know, probably had the edge on this one. But I think what's kept me true to this model is that, well, apart from the fact that I like the sound of it and it plays nicely for me and I'm very used to it, one of the things that's kept me going with it is that I think as a player I still need to improve to get the best out of it. So it's an instrument that's beyond my skill level. And while that's the case, you know, I never have the argument with myself, you need a better ukulele in order to be a better player, because this one is still an instrument that I'm growing into and would need to be a better player to have a better instrument. It's a tricky one to say when you're thinking about logic. Is buying a really expensive instrument something that can be said to save you money in the long term? Now, I'm not sure of the logic of that, but just for an example, a customer a couple of years ago came into the World of Ukes store and he said, what do you play? And I said, I play this ukulele, and he said, how much is that? And I replied, it's £1,150, and he scoffed and said, wow, I'd never ever spend that on a ukulele. And I said, oh, what have you got then? And he reeled off about 12 different models, all probably around the £200 to £300 mark. And I said to him, well, actually, you've spent a lot more than I have on ukuleles, and none of your ukuleles is as good as mine. So there is a bit of a logic that if you get something that's better than you are, that you can grow into, rather than collecting lots of different ones which are perfectly good but of a certain level, if you plump for the big one, then it could save you money in the long term. It certainly has for me. Probably doesn't work for everyone. You know, I know there would be people who would buy an expensive instrument and then they really love it and want another one. So, you know, it might not work for you. But that's my favourite ukulele. I've still got it. It's the Ukulele Lahua 3CX. The next question comes from Anthony Rose, and he says, do you have any tips for getting ukulele strings to settle faster? One thing you can do is research your strings, try a few different sets, and you might find that there are certain types which settle faster than others. On my ukulele I use Nui clear water strings at the moment, and I found that they settle pretty quickly. Another brand I know settles fast is Aquila Aldrin signature strings. They're a kind of green fluorocarbon, and I've seen those used by my colleague who broke a string in sound check. Half an hour later he had a new set of strings on and he was able to play that concert with very little retuning in between songs. So, you know, there are different types of strings which will settle faster than others. If you've got a favourite kind of string already, but they do take a little bit of time to settle in, there is one debate, well, a big debate, which rumbles on to this day about whether you should once fitted, give your strings a good stretch. Now, lots of string manufacturers say that's absolutely fine. Some people would argue otherwise, that it might damage the strings or cause intonation problems. So yeah, I don't do that. I've seen the evidence. I've seen many string manufacturers say that you should do it and it's absolutely fine, but there's that nagging doubt from the other side of the coin. So I don't actually do that. But the main thing I do is just constantly tune up. So what I would do is put the strings on, have the uke hanging somewhere, and every time I pass it, just tune it up again, often just by ear, just to get it going. And the other thing I'll often do is, if I'm leaving it overnight, I'll tune it up a tone. So I'll tune the G up to A, for example, and do that across the strings and leave it overnight. And I find that the extra tension overnight, when you come back to tune it in the morning, means you haven't got as far to go. The next question comes from Carl Crossman, and he asks, do you have any ukulele regrets? Now, I could probably do a whole series of videos on this question because I'm the king of regrets. I think I discovered regrets late in 1996 when I discovered it wasn't going to be the glorious summer of Euro 96 anymore. I wasn't going to be at the end of my first year of university. I wasn't going to be sitting in the sunshine with my friends, free and easy. I was going to have to knuckle down and do some work. So ever since then, I've been no stranger to regrets and still think about that time and kind of wish it was still then quite often. But in terms of ukulele, I would love to have played the ukulele back then. I wish I'd picked one up. I struggled along with the guitar at university and just never really clicked with it. I made rapid progress in the beginning and then just plateaued and never got any better for 10 years or so until I discovered the ukulele. So I wish I'd played sooner. Another thing that I regret, probably the specific answer to this question, relates to a transaction, me buying some ukuleles, which didn't work out for me. I like to do my own brand instruments. When you're an independent retailer like me, having your own brand instruments which you can kind of control is great. If you find another brand of ukulele that's readily available, you can put a lot of work into making videos about it, talking about it, showing it to people. And then the nature of the internet, you look on the internet and there's somebody who's drop shipping it from somewhere else and making £10 on a ukulele which costs 400, and it makes it no longer possible to really sell that model because it's just not worth it anymore. So with your own brand instruments, you can control that a bit more. You can control how they look and what they're made of, but you can also do it so that it's worth doing as a shop. You do have to make a bit of money. I'm not talking about vast sums, huge margins. Actually, in music instrument retail, margins aren't big, but if you have your own model, at least there's not someone who's selling it for cost price down the road. So I do like to do that. And when I started World of Ukes, soon after I got a factory, Korean company making some instruments for me. They were the World of Ukes Pioneer was the first one, and the Scout, and they were very successful. I got them in fairly small numbers, but they were very popular, and I sold out. And I reordered a couple of times, and the last time I did so, the company in Korea kept delaying my delivery, and then just stopped talking to me altogether. Now, they had $8,000 of my money, which now it's 2.5 years on, and I had to employ a debt collection agency in Korea to try and get some of my money back. I got about half of it back, and they basically advised me that I'm never going to get the rest. So yeah, it's a dangerous game doing your own brand models. They were nice instruments, they were popular, but you're at the mercy of international trade, and the control you have over what people do in different countries is very difficult. So that would be my biggest ukulele regret. The fourth question is from Stephen Sembe, who asks, is there a link between the choice of tone wood and suitability for low G? So is there a particular wood that sounds good with a low G? That's a tricky one. I would say that there are general guidelines for me, but they don't always work. I often like low G on a spruce top instrument because the spruce is often a bit brighter. So when you add the low G, which is a lot deeper, it balances out nicely. You get that big depth from the low G, but the trebles still ring out because you've got that punchy spruce tone. So I'd say that spruce would be, and other brighter sounding woods would suit low G, to my ear, because the low G isn't overly dominant because the trebles stand out against it. But with any kind of advice about woods, there are exceptions, and the Anui Nui Moonbird, which is very popular, and would be one for me. Now that is, I think it has the holy grail of ukulele qualities. It's a deep, rich sounding ukulele. It's still bright because it's got a spruce top and powerful and good projection, but it has this natural warmth and depth anyway in high G tuning. So it almost seems a waste for me to put a low G on that, because it almost sounds then like another ukulele with a low G, and it doesn't allow that intrinsic quality of that deep, rich, chocolatey sound to come out. I mean, it still comes out, but it sounds like it's coming out because there's a low G, if that makes any sense. So there isn't really a hard and fast rule. Different instruments respond differently to a low G. But if I was going to go for a ukulele specifically for low G, I would be thinking about a solid spruce top. The final question comes from Kate Robson, who asks, what do you suggest trying differently if you've lost a bit of momentum with your ukulele playing? Now, that has happened to me a few times over my time playing the uke. I've got in a bit of a rut and I can't seem to get any better. And one thing I found useful was to, for me as a tenor ukulele player, picking up a baritone. Now, it doesn't have to be an expensive baritone, just something that's half decent. If you get hold of a baritone and play it, actually, it sounds strange, but my ignorance of the baritone and what chords I'm playing freed me up a bit. I stopped worrying about, if I was writing a song, I stopped worried about, I don't want to put a G major in there, I'm sick of putting G majors in songs or whatever. My brain's not quick enough to transpose the chords onto a baritone. I haven't learnt them, but you play it using the same shapes, and it can free you up to not worry that you're playing the same old chords. You just play music, and it can be quite good for your development, and you stop worrying about what you're doing, and you're just enjoying playing the music. That ignorance is bliss in that respect. So you could try a baritone. Another thing to do would be to listen to other ukulele players. Now, I know we're all ukulele players, we like to play. Not all of us like to listen to other ukulele players, but it is worth listening to some of the artists out there to get a bit of inspiration. For me, I was in really quite a bad rut. I was getting a bit sick of not getting any better or not being able to play anything different, and I listened to James Hill play at the Ukulele Festival of Scotland a few years ago, and his folky style and how he was playing, and he was often using the C and the G string as a drone, and just moving up and down the fingerboard on the top two strings, and that really inspired me to try some different things and really influenced how my development went over the next few years. So I would go out there and listen to some other players, and you might get some tips or just hear a different style that you want to try. And finally, I talk about this a lot, I would look beyond your regular chords and not worry so much about what that chord is, and just make different shapes on the fingerboard. And some of them won't sound nice, some of them will, and then you'll get some really unusual things. Just yesterday, I was playing an F, and I was thinking that's a bit boring, and I'll try adding an E into the chord, and I came up with this. So it's an F, but I'm also going to add my little finger to the 4th fret of the C string to get that E note. And I just thought, that's really interesting. I'm going to use that at some point, I don't know when. So free yourself from the chord book and just make some shapes, and I mean they're still chords obviously, but they might not be the most recognisable ones, but you can find some freedom in moving away from your regular chords and just trying out some different shapes. So thank you for watching What's in Store. This was episode 4, so obviously you'll find 3 others on the World of Ukes YouTube channel, along with well over 300 other ukulele videos to have a look at. So please do subscribe to the channel. If you've got a question that you'd like to ask, I will endeavour to answer it in a future video, so please do let me know. I'm always looking for more questions to answer. I often make these videos like today when I'm in the office on my own and won't see another soul, so it's nice for me to just have a chat about ukuleles, even if I'm just talking to the camera, but I'm talking to you through that. So please do let me know if you've got anything you'd like to ask, and I'll see you next time.
worldofukes.co.uk worldofukes.co.uk